So he ended up grumbling, I threw them all away. Do you think there's anything I can do about it now? You'll be all right. I don't have any innate ability, and I was able to do it. I am sure you can do it, Sir Unglaus. It's never too late. They were the baseless words of a boy. Still, Brain felt some warmth in his heart. You are kind and strong. I am sorry. The boy answered the sudden apology with a blank expression. He was so strong, but Brain had been looking down on him as just a turd. I am a fool. I am just such a fool. By the way, wouldn't you happen to be the Brain Unglaus who once fought Sir Stronov? You know your stuff, huh? Were you watching the fight? Oh no, I didn't see it. I just heard the story from someone who did. They said you were a fantastic swordsman, certainly one of the best in the kingdom. The way you carry yourself and your balanced movements make me think it's the truth. With the pure goodwill weighing heavily on him, Brain stammered out a reply. Thank you. I don't think of myself like that at all, but to hear you praise me makes me kind of happy. Sir Unglaus, began the old man. Sir just Unglaus is fine. I am not worthy of being treated with such respect by someone with such strength. Very well, my name is Sebastian, so please call me Sebas. Now then, would you mind instructing Climb here in swordsmanship? I think it would benefit you as well. Oh, please excuse me, my name is Climb, Sir Unglaus. Sir, excuse me, Sebas, you be training him? It seemed like you were going to before I interrupted. Yes, I had intended to, but we have company, so I think I will deal with them. Oh, here they are. It must have taken some time to arm themselves. A moment later, Brain turned in the direction Sebas was looking. 3 men slowly showed themselves. They wore shirts of mail, and in their hands, protected by thick leather gloves, were their naked blades. Their mood had already gone beyond hostile. It was simply murderous. It was directed at the old man, but it didn't seem like they had much mercy. They likely wouldn't leave any witnesses alive. Brain was shocked and shouted hoarsely. Of all the ridiculous things, they felt such bloodlust and still want to come over here. Are they that strong? If that were the case, each of them had to be equal to no stronger than Brain. Maybe the reason they were bad at stealth was because they had specialized in warrior abilities. But Sebas dismissed all of Brain's worries. I only directed that at you two. Brain knew he sounded like an idiot. For Climb, it was training. For you, it was to smoke you out, or to discourage you from fighting or taking a hostile stance, since I didn't know who you were and you refused to show yourself. I knew these men were enemies from the beginning, so I didn't direct any power at them. It would have been problematic if they had gotten scared and run away. Listening to Sebas' horrifying explanation, Brain gave up on being surprised. The ability to control that much power to exclude targets transcended common sense. I see. Then you know who they are. I have a guess, but there's no conclusive evidence. So I am thinking to capture 1 or 2 and get some intelligence out of them. However, Sebas lowered his head. I do not wish to involve you in these matters. Could I ask you to please get away from here immediately? Before that, I'd like to ask you something. Are they criminals? Climb asked. They sure seem like the type with something to hide. Brain's comment saw flames leap into Climb's eyes. I don't mean to intrude, but I would also like to fight. As a keeper of the peace in the capital, it's only natural for me to protect the people. It's not like we know that Sebas is representing justice, thought Brain. Compared to the guys who had just shown up, anyone would think Sebas and his manner practically screamed integrity were in the right. But there was no guarantee. This kid is so green, but he knew how the boy felt. Comparing a man who would protect a child from a bunch of drunks to these guys, Brain knew which side he would choose. Not that I think you need reinforcements, Sebas, but I'll be damned if I'll help out as well. Brain stood next to Climb. Sebas didn't need assistance really. There was no point for them to even be there. But Brain figured he would follow Climb's example and try fighting for someone else. He chose an option he wouldn't have taken before. He would protect the boy whose heart was strong, but whose skill with the sword wasn't enough to match it. Brain peered at the weapons the men were holding and furrowed his brow. They were poisoned. If they were using something, they could end up hurting themselves with it. They must have some experience. Could they be assassins? The grooved daggers, called mail breakers, glistened with some kind of slimy, abnormal liquid in the depressions. What affirmed Brain's murmured hypothesis were their nimble movements. They prioritized mobility more than a swordsman would. Climb, be careful. Unless you have a magic item that will protect you from poison, consider even a single hit bad news. When one's physical ability was at Brain S level, it was normal to have built up a resistance to the most common poisons. But Climb probably wouldn't be able to withstand anything very potent. The reason they were facing us head on but not immediately attacking is because they were waiting for the other two to flank us, correct? If we have the chance, why don't we just break straight through? Sebas had purposely spoken just loud enough for their opponents to overhear. They froze for a moment, startled that he'd seen through their plan to surround them. That seems like the safest move, Brain said. It's probably even safer to crush the vanguard first and then take on the ones behind. But Sebas shot it down. Oh, but they'd run away if we did that. I'll take the three in front. Could you take on the two coming around? Brain confirmed and Climb nodded yes. This was Sebas' battle. They were just forcing him to allow them to help. Unless Sebas was about to make a fatal error, their role was to act in accordance with his plan. Okay, let us go, Brain told Climb, turning away from the men. He was able to show his open back to the hostile enemies because Sebas was there. Letting Sebas cover him gave Brain peace of mind. It was like the protection of a thick castle wall. Now then, unfortunately for you gentlemen, I'll be your opponent. Oh, but please don't get distracted by these two. Brain looked over his shoulder. He saw 3 daggers between the ringed fingers of Sebas' right hand. When Sebas spread his fingers, the daggers the men had thrown at the defenseless Brain and Climb fell to the ground. The men's will to fight shrank visibly. No kidding. Anyone would lose the motivation to fight after watching their daggers get caught. Did they finally figure out how strong Sebas is? But it's too late now. They wouldn't be able to escape this old man even if they scattered. Amazing. Climb moved in line with Brain. Yeah, if someone said Sebas was the strongest in the kingdom, I would agree. Even stronger than the captain of the Royal Select, Stronov. Yeah, to be frank, if Gazef and I took Sebas on 2-1, we'd still have no chance. Oh, here they come. 2 men appeared and circled around the outside. As could be expected, they looked much like the other 3. At the sound of a sword being drawn next to him, Brain drew his sword too. The reason one of them isn't hiding in the shadows throwing daggers must be because Sebas was onto them. An ambush was effective because it was hidden. If it was revealed, it only diffused their strength. They must have figured that since they'd already been discovered, they had a better chance of victory if they each took 1 man. They have no idea. Climb, I'll take the one on the right. You take the left, he instructed the boy after judging which of their opponents was weaker from his movements. Climb nodded and assumed a fighting stance. His unhesitating manner showed he had been in a life-threatening skirmish before. Brain was relieved he wasn't a battle virgin who had done only training exercises. Climb should be able to win against this guy, but considering the enemy was using poison, it might be a pretty close shave. Even if Climb had experience in actual combat, Brain couldn't imagine he had walked a bloody gauntlet that included frequent battles against poisoned weapons. It might even be his first time. Even Brain was overly cautious against monsters who used corrosive acids or deadly poisons. It made it hard to fight at his full potential. Should I kill this guy right away and support Climb? Would that actually be good for him? Or would it just mess up his effort to help Sebas? Should I step in and fight for him? No, if it came to that, Sebas would probably save him. If Sebas doesn't seem like he's coming, then should I intervene? I never thought I'd worry about stuff like this. Brain gave his head a self-conscious scratch with his free hand and stared down his opponent. Okay, you're going to be a human sacrifice to make up for lost time. 3 blows, Sebas charged. Before the men could react, much less defend, he dethroned 3 punches. That was the end of it. Of course it was. Among all of Nazarick, Sebas was the most skilled in battle. He could defeat this level of assassin with his pinky finger. He shifted his eyes from the men crumpling to the ground, unconscious and limp like octopuses. He then checked on the fight behind him. Brain was keeping constant pressure on his opponent, so he didn't have to worry about him. The assassin fighting Brain seemed to be searching for an opportunity to run away, but Brain wouldn't let him. It was as if he was toying with him. No, rather, it seemed to Sebas like Brain was trying to remove his own rustiness by testing out various attacks. Come to think of it, Sebas had heard something about making up for lost time. Brain must also seem a little distracted because he was worried about Climb. He wanted to be in a position to help Climb right away if need be. He appears to be a fairly good person. Sebas turned from Brain to Climb. Well, Climb was probably all right. It was an unstable exchange of offense and defense. He was a little concerned about the poison weapon, but it didn't seem like he needed to jump in and save Climb immediately. It pained him to involve kind people in his problems, but if he hadn't told me he wanted to get stronger, I would save him. Real combat is good training. I'll step in if it comes to that. Sebas stroked his beard as he watched over Climb's fight. Climb parried a stab with his sword. His back was drenched with cold sweat. A moment too late and his armor would have been punctured. For a split second, he saw discouragement on his opponent's callous features. Climb thrust with his sword to put some space between them, but his opponent's quick steps back and forth didn't let him. Climb generally fought by blocking with a shield and then attacking with his sword, so using just a sword was a mentally and physically taxing experience. The poison-drenched blade was also a major source of stress. Since a mail breaker was a stabbing weapon, he knew quite well that he had to worry about only thrusts. Still, the idea that he couldn't get so much as a scratch made his movements more conservative. He reined in his erratic breathing, a product of his general exhaustion. He panting too. I'm not the only one who's tired. His opponent's forehead was slick with sweat. He kept Climb at his mercy with his agile, assassin-like fighting style. That's why if Climb could injure at least one of his limbs, his advantage would be gone. The balance in their abilities would be disrupted. One blow would decide the battle. That fact was the true nature of the tension between them. Of course, that's how it always is in a clash between equal powers, but it was magnified in this encounter. With a sharp exhalation, Climb struck. It was a small swing, not with too much power behind it. He worried a larger swing would create an opening if its target dodged. The assassin easily avoided the swing and put his hand in his breast pocket. Climb, anticipating the assassin's next attack, kept a close eye on that hand. When the dagger shot toward him, Climb batted it away with his sword. He'd been lucky. He'd been able to repel the attack because he was paying close attention, but before he could even sigh in relief, the assassin launched himself, gliding toward him in a low posture. Crap, a chill went up his spine. He had no way to defend against this follow-up. He swung too widely when he batted away the dagger, perhaps because he was frightened. His sword was still in the follow-through, so he'd never get it back in time to attack. He wanted to devote all his energy to evading, but the assassin was too quick. He was cornered. At least he could use his arm as a shield. Climb had made up his mind when the assassin in front of him suddenly put a hand to his face and leaped aside. A pebble, no bigger than a bean, had nailed him right above his left eyelid. Climb had been able to see it with his enhanced consciousness in these extreme circumstances. He knew, even without turning around, who had thrown it. As proof, he heard Sebas's voice. Fear is an important emotion, but you can let it constrain you. I've been watching for a while, and you're fighting too monotonously. You're not putting enough into it. If you were really going to sacrifice an arm, you would have died. If you're losing on the physical side, then please win with your spirit. Sometimes the mind surpasses the flesh. Yes, sir, Climb answered in his head, and was surprised to find himself feeling calmer. It wasn't the entirely dependent relief of being rescued, but the comfort of having someone watching over him. He couldn't entirely shake the fear that he might be killed. And yet if I die, please tell Princess Rena, tell the princess that I fought bravely. He let out a long breath and slowly brought his sword back up. Climb sensed a different kind of light in the assassin's eyes. Had they come to understand each other in this short while as they risked their lives in this battle? His opponent, who sensed Climb's determination, also made his own decision. The assassin charged. It was only natural, but he closed the distance between them in an instant. He didn't say a word. Once his opponent was in range, Climb brought his sword down. At that instant, the assassin jumped back. He had read the speed of Climb's swing. He used himself as a lure to pull off a feint, but he had overlooked one thing. Maybe he had seen through most of Climb's sword techniques, except one. Climb had confidence in his overhead swing. It was faster and harder than all his others. The sword came down on the assassin's shoulder. The mail shirt stopped it from cutting off his arm. However, it easily snapped the man's clavicle. It tore through his flesh and broke his scapula. The assassin flipped as he fell to the ground. He was in so much pain he was drooling. He let out a soundless howl. Magnificent. Sebas approached from behind Climb. He casually kicked the assassin in the stomach. That was enough for him to go limp, like a doll. He probably lost consciousness. Climb could see Brain in the corner of his eye. Brain had already defeated his assassin and was raising his hands to celebrate. Very well, now we'll begin questioning them. If you have anything you'd like to ask, please don't hesitate. Sebas dragged one of them over and jolted him back to consciousness. Then he put a hand on his forehead. It took less than 2 seconds. He didn't even push very hard, but the man's head bent way back and returned like a pendulum. And with that, the man's eyes had changed. Now they were unfocused, like a drunk. Sebas began the inquiry. The assassin, who should have known how to keep his mouth shut, blabbed everything. Climb found the scene so strange that he asked, "What did you do to him?" "It's a skill called puppet palm. I am glad it worked." It was a move Climb had never heard of, but he was more concerned about the leaked information itself. The assassin was trained by one of the 6 Arms, the strongest members of the 8 Fingers Security Division. He had been tailing Sebas in order to kill him. Brain turned to Climb. "I don't know much about the 8 Fingers, but they are a pretty big criminal organization, right? They must have some mercenary connections." "Yes, that's right. And the 6 Arms is a name for the strongest members of the group. I remember hearing that each of them is equal to adamantite rank. I don't know who they all are, of course, since it's an underworld matter." Apparently, Sucurant, who had shown up at the mansion where Sebas served, was one of the 6 Arms. He was nicknamed Illusion Maniac. His plan had been to kill Sebas and take his beautiful master back with him to do with her what he wished. Having heard that much of the man's story, Climb was assailed by chills. The source was Sebas. He stood up slowly and Brain asked, "What are you going to do, Sebas?" "Now I know exactly what to do. First, I'll go get rid of the place at the root of all these problems." He said Sucurant is there too. It makes sense to brush away the sparks before there's a fire. His resolute answer made Climb and Brain catch their breaths. If he was going to raid the place, that meant he was confident he could win against people with adamantite rank ability, the pinnacle of human strength. Of course, it made sense. He made swift work of those 3 assassins, even though they were so tough. And Sir Unglaus respects him. Who in the world could Sir Sebas be? Maybe a former adamantite adventurer. He also said there are still others held captive. We should probably act as soon as possible. Aha. If the assassins don't return, they'll know something is amiss. And we won't be able to save the captives if they relocate them, Sebas commented. Letting time pass would put him at a disadvantage and give his opponents the upper hand. That was Sebas' predicament. "Okay, my plan is to march in there now. I am terribly sorry, but I don't intend to change my mind. If you two would please drag these 2 to guardhouse, please wait, Sebas. If it's all right with you, I'd like to go along and teach these guys a lesson. Only if it's all right with you, of course." "Me too. As one who attends Princess Rena, it's a matter of course for me to keep the peace. If any of this country's people are suffering, I'll rescue them with this sword. Unglaus may be able to handle it, but I think it might be a bit dangerous for you." "I know it'll be dangerous. Climb, I think he means you'll be in the way." "Well, from Sebas' point of view, we might both be in the way, but no, I didn't mean it like that. I am just worried about you. I don't want you to be misled into believing I would be able to protect you like I did before. I understand. You and your master may not get any credit for what we were about to do, you know. There's most likely a more suitable place for you to risk your life. Averting my eyes from injustice because it's dangerous would make me a worthless man. It would make me unfit to serve my master. As much as I can, I would like to reach out my hand and aid those who suffer the way she does. The way she reached out to me at Climb's steely resolution." Sebas and Brain looked at each other. "So you've made up your mind then?" Climb responded to Sebas with a single nod. "I see. Then I will say no more. Both of you, please lend me your strength." Chapter 5 Extinguished Embers, Flying Sparks 13 Late Fire Moon September 12 7 p.m. The place is behind this door. According to the assassins, there's also an entrance in that building over there. Standing in front of the brothel, near the same door Tsuya had been thrown out of, Sebas pointed to a structure a few doors down. Brain and Climb had been there when he acquired the information from the assassin. But they had never been to the brothel before, so they listened deferentially to his explanation. Yes, he did say that. This entrance could serve as an escape route, At least 2 people are guarding it. Maybe we should split into 2 teams. What if you handle the front on your own and Climb and I attack from over there? I have nothing against that. What do you think, Climb? No objections here either. But Sir Unglaus, what will we do when we get inside? Will we search together? I'd really like you to start calling me Brain. Stebbers, I'd be happy if you do the same. As for your question, it'd be safer to go together. But we need to search the building as fast as we can, while Sebers is keeping them occupied with the head on attack. There might be secret passageways the assassins didn't know about. Then he softly added, sometimes there are hidden corridors that only the leaders know about, as if he was remembering something. So you mean we should split up inside? If we were going in there with an understanding of the danger, we should probably operate in a way that will give us the best results. Sebers and Climb nodded at Brain's remark. Then since you race stronger than me, Sir Unbrain, do you mind if I ask that you do the search? That sounds good.